What's up everyone? And today you join me back at Mid on Quantum to review one of the most amazing hatchbacks ever released by Mercedes-Benz. It's the A45 AMG, and we're going to do a review as always with exterior then interior, as well as the engine specifications and my conclusions to just wrap it all up. So let's jump right into the video. Now to start things off, let's talk about the car itself. This is the 2014 model that was released in the Geneva Motor Show in 2013. So it's basically the more beefy and muscular A-Class version, and you can see it's like the big brother to those other A-Class versions. And furthermore, this is a Japanese import, so most of the specification is according to the Japanese regulations and such. Right, so as always, let's start out with the exterior review. Now, exterior-wise, like I've mentioned, this is the more muscular version of the A-Class, as a big brother to the A-Class in terms of the AMG kit. So front-wise, we see the massive, of course, Mercedes emblem, as with the other A-Classes. However, developments in it is that it has bigger intakes, so those intakes make it look much more just aggressive in general. Then there's of course the front splitter to help with airflow and such, and the sides have the small strakes in them to help with airflow, as I've mentioned with the front splitter as well. Then we move on to the sides, a few developments here and there. There's just a bit of more of like a sportier shape. Rear wise, that's where you see the most significant differences. We've got the massive wing in the back that you can't ignore. It's very massive. It's basically the size of a small ironing board. Then we've got also the exhaust note. Now the AMG cars, which have been developed by Mercedes for AMG, like the AMG style, always have a different type of exhaust note. It has a chrome exhaust pipes, and the exhaust note is just magnificent and sporty. So we're gonna get to hear that later on, and trust me, it's very, very nice. Alright, so before we move into the interior review, let's talk about the exterior developments technological wise. So, as with most cars of this generation, we've got a rear view camera, and when you hit reverse, it just displays it in the center screen, so that helps with visibility. Just basically very simplistic, but it's something that's a nice feature on this car, since it's not something that you have to choose, it's already available in the car. Then we also have adaptive cruise control in this car, and how that technology just works in the car. It's in the front. When you see the front emblem, it's huge. Behind that is all the sensors and all basically the technology that works just to help you with your adaptive cruise control and makes it all work. Alright, so now let's talk about the engine. What is the A45 AMG capable of producing? Now the engine is a 2.0 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine, so it's no V6 or V8, it's just 4 cylinders. However, it's capable of producing 360 horsepower and 331 pound-feet of torque. So that's a lot of power for a small car like this. It goes from 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 kilometers in just 4.6 seconds and has a top speed of 250 kilometers per hour. So it's a feisty little car. Okay, so let's jump out of the exterior and into the interior. Now, interior-wise, Mercedes just put everything into this. They've developed it much more basically in quality, much higher quality compared to the other A-Classes. We've got carbon fiber elements here and there, where you can see basically the visible carbon fiber. You got the visible carbon fiber in a matte finish in the center. The vents themselves for the air conditioning, they have this nice glossy red trim around, and there's a lot of red trim contrasting the black leather around in this car. We've got the red trim in the seats, and these sport bucket seats are quite comfortable for sport seats. They're very nice and basically they just cushion you inside. They hug you inside. When you're going at high speeds, you feel like you're actually in a type of more sporty and race car-esque compared to the other A-Class generations. We've also got adaptive seats, so when you get in, you have a previous setting for your comfort. You've got a previous setting for how far the seat goes forward, how far the seat leans back. That all is adaptive, so it remembers. It's a memory type of seat technology that they have in most of the new generation cars. That's really nice in my opinion when it comes to this car. So as with most Mercedes steering wheels, we've got the nice circular style and a bit of a square off wheel at the end. We've got this nice type of metal chrome titanium style, but it's obviously plastic. It's not really real titanium or chrome. We've got buttons here to control the infotainment system, as well as call information and such, horn in the center. And something that's pretty interesting about this car is that the center emblem for the Mercedes itself is studded in this type of crystal style. Of course, it's not real crystal. If not, the car would be much more expensive in general. However, this style is a bit of shiny, just something that you usually see even on phone covers and stuff like that. So it's something that's a bit quirky and weird. Of course, you also have the paddle shifts in the back for you to just shift up and down when you want the sport feeling. You've also got the automatic transmission, so when you want to cruise around in your daily commute from here to there, you've got the automatic, so it shifts automatically. And when you put it into manual, you've got the opportunity to shift on your own. You've got the stock in the back here for the different types of settings, like your turn signals, for your, of course, the window wipers and such. So pretty simple and basic. Right, so now let's move away from the steering wheel and something that's in front of it, the gauge cluster. The gauge cluster has the analog, obviously, different types of clusters where you have your rev meter as well as your top speed and speedometer. You've got your fuel gauge and of course the engine heat. You've also got a center screen just to help a little more with different types of displays that you like to change when you want to change the car. So you've got displays like the trip, the navigation, audio and telephone. So all of this is much simpler for you to use instead of looking at the center screen. It's a small screen, pretty HD in terms of quality. Of course you also have your gears on the top so you know which gear you're in. So you've got in this car actually there's just 4 different gears. There's actually park, reverse, neutral, drive, and we've got a custom gear so you can customize the type of comfort that you want. So if you want, for example, manual steering with the exhaust valves opened up so you hear more noise, you can choose that. You can choose different types of modes for your suspension and such. So just a personalization mode. So I'd like to talk about the doors themselves. Something that AMG and Mercedes themselves do is that the doors themselves have the seat controls. So like I mentioned, the seats are electronic instead of manual, and the controls are really nice. I really like them because you can see that it's in a seat shape. So the bottom seat you can move around. See that? You move it around when you move the lower seat segment. It's segmented into 3 parts, and then the top seat segment where you can move it back and forward. But the top one, where it's the headrest, can't be moved. Like it's there, however you can't really move it. So that's a little funny quirk that you see in some Mercedes that have these bucket seats. So you can see that this can't really move, it's just one piece here. So they've got that there just for design wise. Some cars it's functional, but for this one it's just design. The doors also have your window basically controls. On the driver's side you've got all 4 controls, and on passenger sides you've got just the control for the one window. So of course you bring them up and down. They've also got the mirror controls, so if you want to change the mirrors you can just do them from here. So everything is just here at the tip of the fingers of the driver when they need to move around. Right, so now let's move into the center console and the center bridge. Now I'm going to take you through this quite quickly since there isn't much to talk about. The center console itself, the center screen, just is pretty small. It has a HD display and it's comparable to a small Android tablet. You've got your navigation, audio, phone, video and the system settings, so there isn't too many settings so it's not too cluttered. Moving on a little lower, we've got the carbon fiber trim finish that I've mentioned before. It's a matte finish, so it's pretty nice, looks pretty nice in my opinion. And then the vents, we've got 3 vents in the center, 1 passenger side and 1 on the driver side. And it has this, like I mentioned, the finish with the red around it, so it looks more race-esque and just contrasts the car really nicely. The vents themselves are pretty high quality and you don't move around and wiggle around too much. Don't make any noise when you move them around. Then we move a little lower, we've got the center system for the phone. So you've got the hands-free phone systems for you to decline and accept calls, and you can either control it from here or from the driver's steering wheel. Then we move a little bit lower and we've got the hazard lights in the center. We've got the eco mode, switch it on and off, the parking sensors on and off as well, and traction mode for on and off. We also have the seat basically heating and cooling for more comfort in this car, and this button just does nothing. So it's just to help with more sound in my opinion. That's what I'm thinking Mercedes was thinking about when they made this button. Then moving a little lower, we also have the climate controls themselves. So just control either cooler air, you go to the left, warmer air, you go to the right. Then you also have the windscreen defogger for the front and back and different modes to toggle from. Then here's something I really like is what they do with most of their cars in general in Mercedes. They have this type of sleek look, and when you push it, you've got a small storage unit and a 12-volt producing socket for you to charge your phone. When you close it back up, it just looks much more sleek and nicer. We also have the gear shifter. We have reverse on top, neutral on the center, and drive at the bottom. And when you're in neutral, you just press the parking brakes here as a button. And you can customize, like I mentioned before, and also change to manual through this small button in the right corner in the bottom. So you just press this to change between either comfort mode, the custom mode, or the manual mode. Moving a little back, we see 2 cup holders here where you can actually store drinks. Pretty small, not too big as you can see. So it just helps with a more daily driver compatibility. Then you also have this small knob here that you can move around, press back. This is to control the center screen. And something that's pretty weird in this car is that this actually moves. What I'm thinking of is it's for comfort, so that a driver can put their hands here or the passenger can put their hands here just to rest it, instead of it being in the back and just resting their elbow, so their hand just dangles a little. And then finally, the center console storage unit is pretty massive. You got 2 USB ports in here to just connect into the center display to play music through your phone. Alright, now before I end and conclude the video, I'd like to talk about a few features that I hadn't mentioned in the previous segments. Now, let's talk about the sun visors. They're pretty high quality, pretty big. You can still see, of course, it does block a bit of visibility, but it does block away the sun more importantly. And this one has a mirror. Usually, mirrors are put on the passenger side, but the driver also has a mirror and a little light to see at night. Then you also have the buttons here. This is for the lights inside the car, just for the rear lights, the front lights, and you can also switch on and off basically the sensors that tell you if the doors are open or closed. You've also got the small reading light here on both sides. You switch them off, they just switch off again. And something that's pretty cool, I talked about how the red's contrasted onto the black, and as you can see here, the seat belts are actually finished in red, so that's something that I really like. So it just feels a bit more sporty. So most of the car is finished in black but with red trimming and red features here and there just to contrast it really nicely. Of course, you've got the silver around the door handles and such, but that's pretty standard. And before I end everything, you can realize that this car is actually still a 4-door car. Since I mentioned it is a hatchback, it's just a higher upgrade towards the A-Class. So the rear is pretty comfortable, pretty roomy, and it also features the red seat belts, which I really like, and also has a center area where you can put your hands for the rear passengers, or you can put 5 passengers if you push it back up. And the center also has a black, not really red, it's actually black in this term, the black center seat belt basically. So they just had to contrast it a little more, and I think these are small features that make the car pop out and feel much more high quality, much different compared to the other A-Classes. Alright, now let's sum everything up and give my opinions on this. Now, the AMG A45 is actually a pretty high quality car. It's much more sporty than the other A-Classes. You can notice it the moment you see with all the exterior features like the front splitter, the rear diffuser, and the massive wing. So it's noticeable when you're driving it around. Interior wise, it's still just as comfortable as the other A-Classes, so it doesn't take away from comfort just to give you a more sporty feel. There's still the comfortable feeling when you're holding the steering wheel. It doesn't feel too clustered, the buttons aren't too clustered in the center, it all just feels very standard. The seats, although they are single bucket style seats, they aren't very uncomfortable like most other cars. They do hug you a little bit, but they're still very comfortable for daily drivable use. Then we also have different settings, like I mentioned, the adaptive seats. We've got cruise control, the rear seats are very comfortable. It just is in general a very nice car. And of course, the exhaust note makes it much more sporty and a much more higher bid for a car. So I really like something in every car. Exhaust notes really puts a bit more standard into a car. Everyone tends to change their exhaust types of systems just for a higher exhaust note, and this car comes standard since it has the AMG kit. So just in conclusion, it's a very nice car. In my opinion, it's one of the best AMG hatchbacks and one of the best hatchbacks in general out there in this class and this standard. So in conclusion, it's a very magnificent car, and it's just a very good deal when you want to buy one. Okay, now I've previously mentioned that the exhaust note is very amazing in this car. So now I've got the key, the standard Mercedes-Benz key, however it does have the AMG logo, so it's very nice, very weighted and very heavy. So you just plug it in and you push to the right. Alright, so just that sums up my video. So I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to hit that like button if you did, share the video with your friends if they also love everything to do with cars, and make sure to subscribe for more car related content. Thank you for watching.